Okay, so today I'm going to teach you how to use the grid method to enlarge a photo, and then also how to paint it in a posterized effect. So first things first, I have my photo, shoulders up. I haven't cropped the head too much. Now this background area is irrelevant. We're not going to use that. We're going to eventually cut out your shoulders and head and glue onto your tessellation background. But since you've got your photo, first thing, the most important thing is you need to have your photo be 6 inches by 6 inches. So I've got my ruler here. I've already cut this into a perfect square. Now the way we're going to enlarge this is my photo is 6 inches by 6 inches, and I have a 1-inch grid on the photo. For my paper that I'm going to do my painting on, I have this as a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So it's a perfect square. And for this one, I'm going to actually do a 2-inch grid. So we've got a 1 inch on the photo, 2 inch on the paper. And basically we're going to get your grid drawn and essentially copy each square, and it will automatically be enlarged on your paper. So I'm going to start with my grid first and foremost. I've got this one already done, but I'll show you how to do it so that you can do this at home. So basically the way I start with my grids, I align the edge of my ruler up with the edge of my paper, and I make sure that there's a straight line on my ruler touching the straight edge of my paper. So I know that my ruler is straight and it's not crooked, and I'm not going to screw up my grid. So then I just make tick marks at the top every 1 inch. So each large line after each number, I'll make tick marks at the top. Then I'll do the same thing at the bottom. So I line up the edge of my paper with the edge of my ruler, the line of the 6 with the edge of my paper, and then I'll just make little tick marks at every inch. And then I will take my ruler, turn it vertical, and I'm just going to line it up on the edge of each of those tick marks, and I'm going to draw my vertical line, and I'll just work my way down the page doing each of those lines. Now you'll do the same thing with your horizontal lines. So I'll just flip this, line up my ruler, make my tick marks at every inch, same thing at the bottom, and align the ruler up with each of my tick marks, and then do my lines. And I'll just work my way down to get those perfect. So there I've got my 1-inch grid on my photo. Now I need to do the same thing with my paper. Now remember, we're enlarging, so we don't want to do a 1-inch grid, we want to do a 2-inch grid. So instead of doing every 1 inch, I'm going to go to the 2, do a tick mark at the 2, the 4, the 6, the 8, and the 10. And I'll do the same thing at the bottom, lining up my paper with the edge of my ruler, tick mark at 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now on a blank piece of paper. There, now I've got my grid totally drawn. A key thing here is you do want to have your grid drawn really lightly, because we are going to be drawing your face on top of here. You don't want to have to go back and worry too much about erasing these lines. So if you realize that you drew them too dark, just go ahead and put your eraser on top of them and pull out some of that graphite as best you can. As always, you want to start off with a really light hand. I have intentionally drawn mine a bit darker here just so that they show up on camera. Okay, so I've got my grid done, and I've got my grid on my photo done. So from here, I'm just going to start to trace in the basic outline of the head and the shoulders. So I'm gonna first start with, it looks like the first part on my row 1 is the second box. So I'm gonna go to my row 1 and I'm gonna go to my second box, and I am just copying essentially everything that I see, minus the background, here. So I'm just gonna start out with a basic outline, and I can tell that if I did a halfway marker in this box, if I divided it in half, this is a great way to make a guideline for yourself so that you don't go too over or too under. So I can tell that the head right here falls pretty much halfway. So I'm gonna put a little line in there, and I can tell it also comes out pretty much halfway here at the bottom. So I'm just gonna make a curve shape. And again, I'm not worrying about any detail. I'm just starting to sketch out the overall shape of the body. So now I'm gonna work my way into box 3, 1, 2, 3. And I've got another curved line that's continuing from the first section, the second box here, and it's going almost to the top, but not fully. So I definitely know that I'm over halfway, but I'm not fully to the top. So I will sketch that in, give myself a guideline of where to go. Okay, now I'm working my way into 1, 2, 3, 4, box 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can tell that my head starts to slope down a little bit. And it looks like it comes out sort of over this corner area. So I'm gonna sketch this and start to slope that curve down and come over this corner intersection. Now, because I have posterized this, my photo is really black in some areas, so you're gonna have to do some improvising to make sure that you're putting your hairline in where you think it actually goes. So I went ahead and I just extended the head down, the hairline here, into row 2. But I am gonna just back up a little bit and come back over to my left side of my paper, and I'm gonna start to fill in this side of the face. So I like to kind of go in and just look at the edge of the face, see if there's a little bit of ear showing, and then start to pull in the jawline. So I'm gonna work my way down. I know that pretty much this whole side of the face is falling in this column 2. So I'm in column 2, and I'm just going to pay attention to this box. And I actually can tell that his scalp, so this first line I drew was actually the curls of the hair. So these are gonna be a little bit wider. I've got one that's kind of swooping out. And then I've got a couple more that are gonna come below this line. So some wavy hair. I'm just gonna kind of give myself a guideline of that. And now I'm gonna sketch in the side of the face, which I know is coming in about a quarter of the way. So if I were to divide this into 4 quarters, it's about the first quarter, so less than half. And it looks like it comes pretty much right at this intersection up here and comes up a little bit. I'm just gonna swing this all the way around. Now I'm into this box, and we see a bit of the forehead. And now it's gonna come down. So I'm carving out this face shape. So I'm removing the head now from the hairline, this outside hairline. So I'm just slowly working my way inwards. And I'm just paying attention to each box as I go down. Noticing if you ever get lost and you're not sure where to put it, find the halfway point of your box and figure out, does my cheek fall on the outside of the halfway or the inside or right on it? Use corners as your guidelines anything that you can find to make this a little bit easier. But it's basically a road map, and you just have to be paying attention to where things fall. So I know that now that I'm in the second column, box 3, I've got an ear happening here. So I'm just gonna sketch in the rest of the cheek, and I know that it's not gonna end at the corner, it's gonna go out. So I'm gonna sketch that in. And I'm also gonna do a little ear situation here. Okay, it looks like it comes down a little bit further. So you just get things sketched in, kind of take a step back, look a little harder, and see if you've got it right or if you need to do some adjusting. Do the adjusting now before you get too far along, because it will get harder. Okay, so far I've got the top of the hair and a little bit of jawline happening, a little bit of the face happening. So I'm gonna actually back up a little bit and start to pull in some of the curls that are falling on the forehead. And I'm just gonna kind of map in some of the movement here, paying attention to where they fall. Again, use those halfway markers, your corners, anything that you can use as a guide. And he's got this other curl over here, kind of swoops down and into this box. Okay. All right. Okay, now I'm going to finish up this other cheek, which I'm working in this box here. So I know that his chin's going to end pretty much about here. And then it kind of blends right in with the neck. So I'll start the neck and taper that in just a little bit based on what I'm seeing here. It's not a straight line, it's a taper. And I'll do the same thing over here. It looks like it starts just over that line and kind of falls right on the line here. So now I have his hoodie to do. So I'm gonna just find where the shoulder starts, where it meets, looks like the edge of his jaw. And I'm gonna slope it down. And I know that I cross over this corner,